125,000 cases confirmed globally, and approximately 4,600 lives lost, sadly. In Australia, we have 128 cases that have been confirmed and reported to the National Incident Centre, and as we receive those, we update twice daily. More significantly, I want to add even further our support to those individuals and their families who might be diagnosed. It can be a very stressful time, and we want to add our support to each and every individual, and to indicate that this is about a country and a community supporting them to provide the way through. Today, the National Security Committee of Cabinet has met and decided to reaffirm and continue, following the medical advice, all existing country travel bans, and the Prime Minister has also referred the question of all travel from Europe to the National Security, from the National Security Committee to the medical experts. So just to repeat, the Prime Minister has referred the question of all travel from Europe to the medical experts at the Australian Health Protection Principles Committee, and we will continue to follow the medical advice. And the reason we've done that is that it has allowed us to be ahead of the curve, one of the first in the world to put in place a China travel ban, and similarly an Iranian travel ban. Some of our decisions that have allowed us to stand up the National Incident Centre, the National Medical Stockpile, the National Trauma Centre early, and these have allowed us in treating, isolating and ensuring that cases are being prevented wherever possible, and we are working with our amazing states, and I do want to emphasise this, with our amazing states, to provide the best possible care.
You've asked the doctors to consider a European travel ban. Why? And are you including the UK in those considerations?
Look, what they're doing is on every day, they're focusing on all of the developments around the world. So we have a meeting each day of what's called the Australian Health Protection Principle Committee. I'm not in any way preempting it, I hesitate to say, because they have been empowered by the states and territories and the Commonwealth to make independent medical judgments. We've asked them to do that, and they've been frank and fearless, and sometimes they've said something is not necessary, sometimes they have said something is necessary. I know there have been a lot of questions, for example, on mass gatherings, and their advice has been, at this point in time, there is no case against major events continuing. And so they'll give frank and fearless advice. This has been referred, obviously the United States has made a decision, and in light of that, we thought that we should, out of an abundance of caution, make the reference, but they'll make an independent assessment, an independent judgment, and give independent advice.
Is there a point
including the
where
UK?
Brendan Murphy, the Federal Chief Health Officer, may make the ultimate decision on mass gatherings? And also, given what we're seeing around the world, with the NBA being cancelled and other events, make a decision on the Grand Prix? So,
firstly, the latest advice, as of earlier this afternoon, provided to the National Security Committee, was that the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee, or think of it as the collective chief health and medical officers from the states and the Commonwealth, who so far have been, I'm advised, unanimous in all of their determinations. They have not indicated that there are grounds in Australia. So each country has different circumstances. Each state may have different circumstances. But they have not said that the grounds exist for changing their guidance on mass gatherings. And I think one of the important things in allowing us to be ahead and to stay ahead and to be prepared is the independence that we have given to our chief health and medical officers. For example, we were one of the very first countries in the world to declare this an emergency when, on the 21st of January, following the collective advice of the state and territory chief health and medical officers and the Commonwealth together, Brendan Murphy declared this to be a disease of pandemic potential. Following that group's work, we declared this to be a global pandemic 2 weeks ago. And I note that the World Health Organization has now adopted that same formula. And so they have